Today on I Am Casa, I'm gonna explain you why pocket watches are the next big thing when collecting vintage watches. If you don't already know, well, I'm a vintage watches guy. I love vintage watches. I love collecting vintage watches so much that, well, now as every one of us, I have some problems finding the perfect vintage watch. Why perfect? Because nowadays what matters is, I would say, three aspects. Collectability, meaning the provenance, the history and whatever. Quality in terms of how they are nowadays after many years being around, being used, etc. So the conditions of the watch and the actual design of the watch. All these things together make a perfect vintage watch, and I have to say that nowadays everything skyrockets in prices. From your simplest vintage watches, meaning an Ellipse, a Calatrava, something like this, or even Seamasters and watches of this sort, to the most quirky designs such as the ones I'm wearing, which are two different Jaeger-LeCoultre watches that we call lucchetto, locks in English. Well, since all of us like a perfect watch, like a watch in pristine conditions, a watch with a provenance, with a story, and with some design elements making it unique and making it, what's most important, conveying emotion to the owner, how not to break the bank when collecting vintage watches? This is a question I've always had, and to answer that I partnered up with Cashmere Watches, a small vintage watch shop, in order to bring you 10 different timepieces for you to understand what to look for in a pocket watch. If you've been following this channel for pretty long, you can also find here a beautiful interview with Balthazar Despourriers, who already introduced us to the world of pocket watches with the same arguments I had, meaning you can collect great watch without breaking a bank. But let's start strong. I have selected 10 pieces with a very different meaning in all of them, starting from the cheapest good quality pocket watch you can get, to métier d'art pocket watch, to a complicated pocket watch, to an artistic and also pretty uncommon design in pocket watches, to the perfect quality you can find. But let's start with the simplest of them all. Basically, the selection we have today starts from the 30s and goes up to the 70s, 80s. But what is important is that a pocket watch is a watch you can still use. In a world where we all want to be different to other people, using a pocket watch nowadays is kind of a status, kind of a declaration of intent. We want to be perceived as collector, we want to be perceived as different people, and since we're all using denim trousers or jeans for all of us, we also have this little pocket to store our pocket watch. And remember, you can also play with the chain of your pocket watch, which is a fun element in order to add a touch of personality. I want to start with the simplest of them all. So if you're new to the vintage watches collecting and you have a budget of around 1,000 euros or less, my suggestion is to go for the latter versions of pocket watches. Here we have a beautiful Tissot anti-magnetic pocket watch. It is in chromed metal, so it's not a stainless steel pocket watch, but we do have all the design elements that to me make a great pocket watch. First and foremost, the conditions in which the watch came to us. which are absolutely amazing. The watch is perfect, very few scratches. We have a beautiful dial with no patina, with no alteration whatsoever. And when it comes to Tissot, it's not uncommon to see this beautiful Arabic numerals with a silver leaf applied that makes kind of a mirrored effect. This is a pretty huge pocket watch. I think it's around 45, 48, and as you can see, we have the key elements of pocket watches, meaning the beautiful crown that led us Italians calling it cipolle, onions for real, because of the shape of the crown, and a beautiful keychain holder here that almost reminds me of a heart. Plus we have the big small seconds at 6 and a beautiful set of hands, which to me looks very nice. Also, the watch comes with a beautiful chain, as you can see, with kind of a teardrop motif to it. When you look at it, when you feel it in your hand, it has a different character than a wristwatch. It should not be something too small, in my opinion. It should not be something that you can ignore, because again, it's not something you put on your wrist. It doesn't have to live life with you. It just has to be a great companion, be legible, be good to look at when you pull it out of your pocket and you look at it. And again, readability, quality of the overall watch, the Tissot logo, the anti-magnetic writing, all of it is pristine, all of it is curated. And again, if you think that this quality of watch, and we're not talking about the movement inside, but this quality of watch comes in your hands for below 1,000 euros, it's something that is really surprising, at least in my opinion. Another thing we forgot to mention about pocket watches, and it's very, very clear when we look at this beautiful L'Écoutre stainless steel with rose gold gilt. Well, not really gilt, but it's more of purpurine, this little paste of gold, which is almost a glitter, is the fact that if you want to really enjoy one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful aspect of a watch, meaning the dial, the pocket watch is the perfect watch to do so. Why? Because it's way bigger than whatever wristwatch you can get, apart from like some vintage Panerai stuff, but it's really easy here to appreciate everything on the dial. We see the miniature at Chemin de Fer, which is incredible. We see the Arabic numerals with the purpurina. We see the small seconds at 6. We can appreciate fully the small hand in the sub-dial, and we can also play with the light with this beautiful black and rose gold dial on a stainless steel pocket watch. We're talking about a watch from the 40s, which comes with a bit like a cousin, which is on the other hand Jaeger. So if we do this, it's Jaeger LeCoultre. Sorry for the dad joke. And this is another version of this watch featuring this kind of sector dial as well, featuring the Chemin de Fer miniature, but with only the cardinal points with the Arabic numerals. In this one we have gilt plus the same little glitter purpurina that we can enjoy here. We have similar hands. We also have the small seconds at 6, and I managed to open it very quickly for you guys, but another aspect that is really enjoyable in pocket watches is the movement. You can see we have a way bigger movement than a wristwatch, for sure, and this really can let you explore the watch, explore the finishing. Here we can see a very nice anglage, a very nice cerclage on the platine, a very nice perlage below the escapement, the inscription with the gold touch, the rubies that are very visible, the perlage on the inner case back, the different two case backs which you can personalize. It's a whole different vibe in my opinion. And look at this one. Imagine it being a wristwatch. This would be a 30,000 euros wristwatch, even with this logo on it. But you now can look for one for, I don't know, maybe 7,000 euros, which is completely different, and you will get the same value you would get with a wristwatch, but with a way bigger object to look at and to enjoy and to get emotions from. And look at the crown, the shape of the stem, the poinçon, and all the small details of this watch, plus really the quality and the way it just sits on your hand. But again, this is more like the 40s vibe, which to me is the absolute best time period when pocket watches were created. The 40s all feature, well, most of the watches from the 40s feature this kind of like Bauhaus a bit vibe, this kind of purity and classicism with a bit of touch, because if we look again at the Lecoutre one, we can see this triangular shape, which is very interesting. We can see the crown, which is very kind of neoclassic as well. And another example is this beautiful Alpina, which on the other hand comes with a gilt dial, also typical of the period. It's way more simple, it has way less quality on the case making, but at the same time is one of the most enjoyable objects I've seen so far. And imagining to being able to buy this quality for wristwatches brings me back to like 2016 or even before, because nowadays to find these watches is very hard and not easy in a flea market or wherever, and for sure with a big price. Again, the 40s are to me the best period of time when pocket watches were created. But all the pocket watches from the 40s, or at least the majority, are classic, are pocket watches that I love to collect, that I love to look at, because they're pure and they are beautiful in kind of an objective way. But then there's a whole different vibe to it. If we go before the time or after the 50s, we can find way different pocket watches. These three are literally some of the most special watches I've ever seen in Milan outside of a big dealer like Bernardini or so on. The first one I want to introduce to you is kind of a savonnette, more or less, is a Juvenia, and it's a work of art. So it's a yellow gold pocket watch. It comes in a super interesting shape, meaning it's kind of an oval with a lower cut, with an upper cut, with the whole case construction that is super interesting. We have a decoration on the side of the case. We have a beautiful enameling technique on the rest of the case. The case back is completely clean in order to have engravings. We have beautiful Breguet numerals on the dial, which is satin finish. We have these hands remembering me of a halberd. It's incredible, and look at the coherence on this watch. We have the chemin de fer and the small seconds that also share the same design with the lower cut. The watch is a true work of art. It's not a watch, it's a masterpiece of watchmaking combined with engraving, combined with enameling, combined with design. It's a collective object. It's something that really shows the era in which it was created, which is like the early 30s, and it's something you would never find on a modern era watch, on a contemporary watch, or if you would, the price point would be, I would say, in the at least 5, but most possibly 6-figure category, which is incredible compared to this one, which would go for below 10k. So I think that watches as this one, which are of course rarer than this kind of pocket watches, are something that is still not fully understood. Maybe Antiquorum understood them very well, but I would definitely look into them before it's too late and before everyone else acknowledge the fact that they are incredible watches. Juvenia also was a very important brand, not maybe as important as Jaeger-LeCoultre or LeCoultre Alpina is similar, we can say, but all the watches on the stable come from prestigious brands, and a very special example is this René Bovin. René Bovin was a very important jeweler in the 20th century Paris that had a special taste, and this watch shows us why. So it's rock crystal, and it has a whole case in rock crystal with rose gold touches, a rose gold wire going around the case, a faceted rose crystal open case back showing us the movement, which is very well finished, which is very interesting in design. Of course, the front part of the dial is simple, is legible as it should be, but we can say that this is a masterpiece because it's a watch from the 50s, is a watch that already had an open case back. It has all this playfulness and this way of really wanting to be different, wanting to be special. And imagine pulling this out of your pocket nowadays and showing it to people. It really looks like a magic trick of some sort, and to me, this is in my top 2 watches around the ones I brought you. But the first piece, my favorite piece of them all, is the one that I discovered as kind of a joke. So I got showed this piece by Cashmere Watches. I saw this piece and I was like, well, what's special? Because if you look at the front part of the dial, the only thing you maybe realize is that the watch is nice, is in good condition, and that the dial color matches the case color. But what's special about this watch? The fact that the material used is not a simple yellow gold, yet a green gold. Green gold is obtained with the same proportion of alloy as the yellow gold, but using copper that is already alterated a bit. It's already turned into green copper. So the whole idea of this watch is that if you play with the light, you will have the yellow gold, but in a very shiny, almost like lime green sort of nuances. And you can notice that the whole keychain holder has a beautiful shape. The case side is super curated. We have the whole aesthetic of the watch, which is very goldy, and we have hand micro painted enamel showing this allegory of love on the back, which is completely out of this world. The amount of details, the quality of how it was carried on, how it was made, and the fact that it came to us in such perfect conditions is marvelous. Plus, a thing you have with all your pocket watches, being almost all pocket watches hand wound, is this one. And this is a joy you could almost get only with this pocket watches. The crispiness of the sound and the beauty of looking at the winding system in your hands is fantastic. So both on the Longines and on the René Bovin, we have a lot of craftsmanship, a lot of artistry, also on the Juvenia. But I told you, we can have artistry, craftsmanship, métier d'art on one hand. We can have purity, beauty, and conditions on the other hand, also at an affordable price. But we also have complications and provenance. When it comes to complications, we do have pocket watches featuring mini repeaters, we do have pocket watches featuring perpetual calendars, but I think these pocket watches are already appreciated by the market, while this is the fun you can still have. There's not so few of these on the market, well, maybe not online, but you can still find these. These are beautiful World Timer pocket watches. What's special is that they share a very similar aesthetic to the Patek ones, meaning Dauphine hands, simple baton indices, and this beautiful, big and chunky bezel to move all the World Timer indication, which is so good. They're big, they're above 50 millimeters for what I remember. They're incredibly nice, and most of them are retailers watches. So I think there was a company or more than one producing them blank, and retailers could personalize them. This one comes from Haussmann, the most important Roman retailer in history, and it shares the Haussmann & Co logo with such a clean and perfect aesthetic, and to me there is no better way to have a World Timer indication. It's not a gold case, it's like a gold-plated case. The case quality was not at the best of the best, but the overall presence of the watch, the beauty of looking at it and imagining the whole history of the watch is something to die for, in my opinion. And again, a clean white dial with Dauphine hands and a great signature making provenance is, to me, fantastic. But even more historically important, it's also possible to still find watches with their boxes, which in this case, as you can see, is kind of a decor box, which is fantastic. This one is historically relevant because when you think about pocket watches, I'm sure you're not thinking about water resistance, but since pocket watches were the first type of watches to be carried around for normal people, they had also the necessity of making them waterproof for people that work in very humid environments or similar things, and this was the first ever waterproof pocket watch in history. It's from Omega, it's from the 40s. You can see how different in aesthetic it is. It has this big rail, the ratio between the dial and the case size is not the same as on the other watches. We also have a beautiful inscription in the back: La direction du premier arrondissement des CFF à Monsieur Henri Eugène à l'occasion de ses 25 ans de service 1916-1941. So this watch is from 1941 and it was given to this Mr. Henri Eugène, who was a director in CFF, which I don't really know what it is, but of course it's something French, having the premier arrondissement, which should be Paris. It has a way different aesthetic since the Arabic numerals font is way more bulky, is way more serious of some sort, as this was a tool watch. And come on, does it look like your average tool watch? I don't think so. Again, we have a very soft and interesting crown, very big one, and a completely different aesthetic. To me, this is the most interesting pocket watches we have on the table because it has something unique and something different. It has a lot of story, it has character, it has provenance, it has its original box, it has everything that a great watch should have, and to me this will be in the near future something that we could look for as like not a top lot but an important and relevant lot in a big auction, because it's something that really should be appreciated in my opinion. And the last watch I present to you is the simplest of them all, but is the most Italian. It's a Fiat watch. Is the watch that was donated to the people at Fiat for some anniversaries, but I think it's very special because we have the numerals on the outer bezel, let's say lunette of the case, plus we have beautiful blued hands, the Fiat logo, we have all the little dots as indices, and to me this is just so cool. The shape of the, let's say, crown guard, it's super nice, and again, I've never seen something with such quality for so low of a price. So this is just my 2 cents on this watch, which is just too cool not to be shown. Again, pocket watches were the first type of watches to be carried around, which makes them very relevant in our history. They're not watches that you see every day. They're not watches that you're used to enjoy and take around, but to me, every one of these watches have a meaning. Every one of these watches have a place in a good collection, and I think that being all of them below 10,000 euros, well, there's this type of quality is available nowhere else in the wristwatches market. So this was my 2 cents. I hope you enjoyed the selection. I hope you enjoyed a bit of the storytelling. And again, thank you to Cashmere Watches for making this possible. Let me know if you do like pocket watches. If there's other pocket watches I haven't remembered of bringing on the table. If there are any other pocket watches you like and you want to see on the channel. And well, share your thoughts with me in the comments if you're going to collect pocket watches and if you agree with me that these are the next big thing. See you next video.